What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. We got a whole lot to get into this week, man. Some things been going on in the sports world that we definitely need to talk about this week. Olympics, everything, all that stuff is out of the way, but now it's football time. And that's the time when Eric and I like to place most of our bets too. But I did hit on that. Let me introduce my co-host, my brother, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man?
What's really good, bro? As always, we got a lot to get into. As you mentioned, football season's right around the corner, so we are getting our tickets lined up. And then we got the Real Fans, Real Talk Fantasy League going on. I know we got some WNBA to get into. Let's get to it, man. I see the comment section is already looking crazy. So I definitely am excited to get to it.
Let me shout out the gang, man. Shout out to the supporters. Ron, I see you, man. You know what? I know they probably gonna want us to get through the NFL stuff again this week. Cause all right, we're gonna start with the NFL. We're gonna jump right in. We go to Ron's comment. Ron says, does Allen have enough weapons? Josh on Keon Coleman, mixed between Michael Thomas and Des Bryant. I mean, he's got the up close and personal look, so he'd be in a better position to say that than we would. I got to actually see him in a regular season game because you're talking about Michael Thomas and Des Bryant, two of the greatest receivers we've seen. You know what I mean? So to put that kid, and I'm not saying he can't be in that category, but I got to see it with my own eyes because especially when you're talking about Michael Thomas and what he did in New Orleans, and same thing with Des in his own right with Dallas. So I got to see. But I will say this, I do like the kid's personality because from what I've seen on draft day and like little interviews between now and then, I do like the kid's personality, but now we got to see it on the field.
I don't think he has enough weapons, and that's not selling short what they do have. James Cook at running back, Dawson Knox at tight end. But Keon Coleman, who I think has great upside, it's tough to say he can automatically duplicate not only what Diggs gave you, but also what Gabe Davis gave you. Those were veteran receivers who have been through the wars and been through some deep playoff runs. But I did get the opportunity to see Keon Coleman up close and personal last year in Tallahassee when I went down there for that game against Virginia Tech. And I will say, in terms of like presence, he has a presence about him. It's not just a big personality. He has a presence. He knows he is a great player. He has the size already. And he's not an explosive receiver. That I haven't seen that part of his game yet. But in terms of the physicality and being able to beat up cornerbacks and high point the ball, it's a lot to me. I compare it a little bit to Mike Williams, who was with the Chargers and now with the Jets, and that he's not going to blow you away with some of the big explosive plays. But in terms of physicality, there aren't going to be very many cornerbacks who are going to outfight him for the ball. He's going to be a physical presence on the field. So I do like him and Josh Allen together. But in terms of enough weapons, I'm going to have to say no because you lose, again, big-time contributors to a team that had gone to an AFC Championship game, who have won the AFC East for the last couple of years. And now you got an unproven receiver. You got a tight end now who's got to step up, who's never – I don't think Dawson Knox in his time there has had more than 650 yards, 700 yards. So it's a lot of production that you're losing. I don't think they have enough weapons.
Okay. Now, when you say the physicality at receiver, you're not – okay, I can understand that comparison because both of those two guys were bruisers. So I can definitely understand that. But, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they have enough weapons. I mean, come on, man. We sat up here and we talked year after year about how a true number one wide receiver can change a lot for a quarterback, right? We use Stephon Diggs a lot as that example from what Josh Allen was before Stephon Diggs got to Buffalo and in numbers he started putting up once Stephon Diggs was there. You lose that now. You don't have a legitimate number one wide receiver right now. You may not even have a legitimate number two wide receiver because, again, you mentioned that Gabe Davis is no longer with this team, right? So you may not even have a legitimate number two wide receiver. Now, it's not to say Keon can't step into the number two, the number one spot, but right now, if he's the upside, he's the best you got at that receiver position. I don't think it's enough. You definitely gonna need some more help at the wide receiver position. They never really had a great dominant running game while Josh Allen was there. And then again, Dawson Knox, I think he's in the upper half of tight ends in this league, but he's not Mark Andrews. to where it's like, you know how Lamar ain't got no receivers out there, but we know we got Mark Andrews. You know what I mean? So they need some help. They're gonna need it.
Right. Like you said, it's not like when Mahomes lost Tyreek and then you got Travis Kelce still. These are guys that are still kind of unproven. And I'll ask all of our followers and supporters, in a big playoff game, whether in Buffalo or Kansas City or in Baltimore or in Cincinnati, are you trusting Keon Coleman to get you 8 to 10 catches and 120 yards? Because that's the type of guy he's got to be for Buffalo. Right, but that's what I'm saying, that it's unproven. We haven't seen it yet. So that's not to say he can't do it, but that's a lot to ask of a rookie wide receiver, especially when you're expecting him to be your number one target. It's not like you're bringing him in and saying, hey, we still have other guys that are our number one guy, and we're just going to allow you to grow in your game. You are now the number one guy from day one.
Unless your name was Marvin Harrison Jr., then maybe I might throw you into the fire. Just maybe. But everybody ain't that though, all right, let me go to man, come on, Ron. Why we gotta start with the Giants talk? It's too early, man. Bad game or bad sign for Daniel Jones, 11 for 18, 138 yards, 2 interceptions in a preseason game versus Houston. Listen, man, we in a mode this season where we're supposed to be, losing some games so we can bring on Shador next season. That's I think that's the goal that Giants fans have for this season. So it's a bad sign and it's a bad game. It's both. Honestly, it's both but it's a bad sign, but it's also a good sign because let them keep playing like that so we can do what we need to do. And then next year we can have our quarterback to go along with Malik Neighbors, who I do think is going to be a really good wide receiver.
Well, to me, it's not a bad game because this is who Daniel Jones is. He's in midseason form right now. This is midseason form Daniel Jones. So it's not a bad game. It's a terrible sign if you're the Giants, specifically for the head coach and the general manager, because this is year 3 there. And if you can't develop Daniel Jones at this point, you got to search for a quarterback. And as you mentioned, all you can hope for now is that you have a bad enough season where you're drafting in that top 3, top 4 to get a quarterback of the future. But they spent a lot of money on their O-line. They lost Saquon, so they had to replace that position. You bring in Malik Neighbors. At some point, if you're the Giants, you got to fix this as well. Like, you can't keep going through these cycles of, these 3 or 4 year periods, and then we got to hit reset again. Because, again, this is year 3 for the current head coach and general manager. Mm-hmm. You got to get some decent production. Don't be surprised if Daniel Jones gets off to a very slow start. Don't be surprised if he's benched by week 2. Because I just don't see them being patient with Daniel Jones much longer. And they may just go in, like you said, into tank mode and say, we'll deal with the backup playing and just go from there, as opposed to continue to have to see these bad games from this guy. Yeah,
because you're wasting guys, right? We never got to upgrade that quarterback, so you wasted Saquon. You got a top wide receiver, a kid that got a lot of potential that could be one of the better wide receivers in this league. You don't want to waste these early years when you ain't got to pay him nothing, messing around with Daniel Jones. So, like I said, we're gonna have to, I'm sorry. Generally, I don't really like to take it away, but sometimes you got to take it away.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying, and get that quarterback of the future.
You have to. You have to. And listen, they've spent a lot of draft capital on their O-line. They spent a lot of money this past offseason on their O-line. Last offseason, they went and got Darren Waller to try to get him another target. So it's not like the Giants haven't tried to get Daniel Jones pieces. They have gotten him pieces. He hasn't stayed healthy, and he turns the ball over way too much. Those are his 2 biggest issues. And at some point, the Giants are going to cut the cord on it. And also, for this current regime, Daniel Jones was not their draft pick. They had to inherit him. So your patience is going to be even thinner when it comes to Daniel Jones, because this isn't a guy that I selected. I had to deal with this guy and work with this guy. At some point, I don't want to work with him anymore.
Exactly. Yep. You said it. Shout out to the ladies. We're going to get to the WNBA a little bit later because I'm actually hyped because I got floor seats to tomorrow night's game. So if y'all see me on TV, you know what I'm saying? You know what's up. I'm back outside. All right. Let me go to shout out to Miguel, man. I hope I'm saying that. Look like, is that a G or a Q? Is it Miguel or Miguel? Whatever. Y'all tell me if I said it right. If it's Miguel, let me know it's Miguel. If it's Miguel, let me know if it's Miguel. Either way, welcome to Real Fears, Real Talk. We appreciate you. Why is the Steelers offense unsuccessful? Well, one, they haven't had a decent quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger. That's first and foremost. as much as I love Najee Harris, that's an Alabama guy. He's been all right. You know what I mean? I thought he would be better coming out the gate. Now they do have a nice 1-2 punch at running back, but that's something that kind of just happened last season. They haven't had a true number one wide receiver really since Antonio Brown left Pittsburgh. Because you had Juju there for a little while. You had Washington, you had them other guys there, but nobody was like a legitimate number one wide receiver. I can't even remember the last time they had a good tight end in Pittsburgh. So you know what I mean. So then that's it right there. That's why the Steelers' offense has been so unsuccessful. They just don't have the talent.
I think that the quarterback position has been a big issue, of course, and that's the most obvious. But I think the two main issues have been Najee hasn't developed into the running back they thought he was going to be. Mm-hmm. He doesn't break as many tackles as he did in college. He doesn't create the big explosive plays out of the running game, which really hurts you in trying to create the play action pass. But their O-line hasn't been that great either. And I think those two things kind of go hand in hand. Najee doesn't make guys miss, and their offensive line isn't mauling guys and really moving the pile the way they used to. In order for them to have any type of success this year, they're going to have to protect better. They're going to have to run block and pass block better because Russell Wilson isn't the scrambling quarterback he used to be. And as I mentioned, Najee doesn't break big runs. So if this team is going to turn around offensively, I think it's got to start with the offensive line.
There you go. Let me see. Shout out to Kyrie. What's up, man? Caleb downplays comparisons to Patrick Mahomes after second preseason game. That's because he's smart. What you know what I mean? Like, as a rookie quarterback who has not played an official NFL regular season snap, he answered that the best way he possibly could. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. We know, especially Eric and myself, we know Patrick Mahomes is on that Mount Rushmore. He's the only quarterback that I've seen that really has any type of chance of dethroning Tom Brady as the GOAT when his career is over. You don't need that addict. Fresh out the gate. You ain't even played your first regular season game yet. For what? Thank you. Appreciate that. But I got work I gotta do. That's it.
Right. Shout out to Kyrie. I don't know if Kyrie was the one who posed a question last week, but somebody had posed a question in regards to what Nick Saban said during Hard Knocks about pressure in the quarterback. And these things kind of go hand in hand. You don't want to create more pressure for yourself. If he sits there and be like, well, I idolize Patrick Mahomes, and when I go out on the field, I try to do the things he does, then the media is going to kill you every time you throw a bad interception or you try to do a careless pass like Mahomes did the other day to behind the back. Only Mahomes could get away with that, right? No other quarterback can get away with throwing it behind the back.
That was crazy. First of all.
you not only you throw behind the back, you throwing it in traffic because it's basically like the tight end screen that you're throwing it behind the back on. But for Caleb, I like that he downplays it because these are the years and these are the moments where you want to kind of create your own identity. You don't want to be attached to someone as great and as accomplished as Patrick Mahomes. We forget how young Patrick Mahomes is because of everything that he's done already in the league. But if you're Caleb Williams, that's the last comparison you want right now. Do some things on your own. Create a name for yourself. Create a legacy for yourself before you start to accept the comparisons to one of the greats that's ever played the game.
Yeah, and again, he's looking good. Things looking good from what I've seen. I think he's gonna have a pretty good season his rookie year. We spoke last week about the plethora of weapons that he has to throw to. So all he needs to do is just relax, focus on playing football. That's it. He don't need to get up in the media headlines because you know where that can go.
That's a fact.
I'm gonna go one more time for Kyrie. Kyrie says CD asking for $33 million per year. What I say to that, know your worth, King. That if you feel like you're worth $33 million a year, then that's what you asked for. And if they don't got it, somebody gonna have that bag because the CD Lamb. He's been production-wise, he's one of the best wide receivers that we have in the NFL. And when it's your time to go, they're gonna get you up out of there. So when it's your time to get that bag, you state your number and you don't let anybody else dictate your worth to you. And if that means you got to leave the Cowboys, then sorry, all you Dallas fans, including our good brother Sean Fontaine. But know your worth, King, and you stick to that. Stand on business.
I think CD is right to say that. Listen, you can, like you said, know your worth, and you can say any number you want to say. When you guys negotiate, ultimately that will determine what you're willing to accept and what you settle for. But CD's production through his first 4 years in the league has gotten better every year. I thought by the end of last season, you could make a real debate that he was like a top 4 receiver in the league. He runs every route. He lines up everywhere. He's not just the outside the numbers guys. He's inside in the numbers. And there are people who try to criticize, oh, well, he works out of the slot. Well, a lot of times the slot is the toughest position to work out of because you got to be able to run every route. You're working against safeties, linebackers, corners. So you got to have the whole route tree to be successful in the slot. Cooper Kupp works out of the slot, right? One of the best route running guys that we've seen in the league. So CeeDee Lamb, I think, is worth anything he asks for because his production has proven that. And the pressure is on the Cowboys now to make that work because a guy like CeeDee Lamb will get that back somewhere, as you mentioned, Trip. There won't be a shortage of teams that will want a young, explosive receiver like CeeDee Lamb.
And then, because again, you know, remember we talked about that, what that number one receiver can do for you. You're going to see the difference because Dak was also a quarterback that benefited from having a number one receiver come in there and change the trajectory of his career when Amari Cooper came in and did that for him. And then you added CeeDee Lamb, who just so turned out to be one of the ones as well. Dallas, y'all might want to pay that man because it could get ugly for y'all. Unless y'all like, nah, and then that's gonna be y'all. So y'all have now you got the excuse to let Dak go too, because you ain't got no receivers, so you might as well just start from scratch. But I know Jerry Jones ain't feeling that. So we're gonna see how this thing plays out. But again, man, I hope that CD stands on business. Go get that money. It's especially important in the NFL when the money is not fully guaranteed like that. So you go out and you state what you're worth and you stick to that.
I agree.
Let me see what else we got. What's left of the All Americans? Oh, here we go. Let me go to Miguel again. However, my apologies respectfully. How has Aaron Rodgers evolved in recent years? Did writing a book change your opinion of Aaron Rodgers? No. I wouldn't really, unless he wrote in the book he did some Wild Bill stuff, then maybe that might change my opinion of Aaron Rodgers. But for the most part, I don't have no issues with Aaron Rodgers. I like Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the quarterbacks that I've rocked with. Not my favorite quarterback, but he's one of the ones that I rock with. I don't have an issue with him. I wanted him to do well for the Jets when he got there last season. Obviously, we know what happened with that situation, the injury. But no, the book don't change my opinion of Aaron Rodgers. I gotta judge him. Like I said, unless he was talking about he committed 10 murders in the book, then maybe I might have felt differently about him. But other than that, no, I'll judge you based off of what I see from you. And right now, what I'm gonna judge you on is your play on the field. And I think Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest quarterbacks, football players in general to play the game. That's it. That's how I still look at it.
Yeah, I mean, unless Aaron Rodgers turned into Aaron Hernandez, I don't think my opinion has changed at all. But I think that in terms of how he's evolved, I thought he kind of caught a bad rap from the media towards the end of his Green Bay time. A lot of people made him out to be like a bad leader and, he's not teaching Jordan Love how to be his replacement. And then when I saw him on Hard Knocks with the Jets and the way he interacted and even the relationship him and Sauce Gardner kind of developed, I'm like, he did kind of get a bad rap because he seems like a pretty chill guy who gets along with his teammates. And at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers isn't the first quarterback to not mentor his replacement. Like, it's well documented that Joe Montana didn't mentor Steve Young because he knew that was his eventual replacement. Mm-hmm. Most great quarterbacks, Brett Favre didn't mentor Aaron Rodgers. Most great quarterbacks are not going to mentor the guy who's supposed to take their place. Everybody's fighting for a spot. Everybody's trying to keep the checks coming in. So I think overall, my opinion of him has not changed at all. The way he's evolved, I think that he is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And so therefore, maybe his ego has become a little inflated at times. I know he said some wild things specifically about COVID during that time that people didn't like. But that doesn't change my opinion of him. How anyone feels about, a virus going around, that's their opinion. We can agree to disagree. But overall, I think he's come across as a pretty chill guy.
And listen, as many people as I know that have fake cards out here, can't judge Aaron Rodgers.
Like, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I cannot judge Aaron Rodgers. Trip, you know this for a fact. During COVID, there was times we were still outside. So I cannot judge Aaron Rodgers for lying about being vaccinated.
Exactly. Like, come on, man.
It ain't that big of a deal. He didn't commit a crime.
You know how many people I seen get jobs because they lied and said they had the vaccine? Like, so listen, I ain't even mad at that. I let that go. But yeah, and then even in regards to not mentoring Jordan Love, see, in this, it maybe I might feel differently if the situation was different, but in this particular situation, you got one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league on your team who was coming off of MVP seasons. And we're almost over the hump to getting us back to another Super Bowl. You guys know we have no receivers here. We really ain't got no weapons I can throw to, period.
They only had Devontae at that time.
You know what I'm saying? And you go and you draft a quarterback in the first round. No, hell no, I'm not about to help him out. Y'all didn't help me out and get me another receiver over here, or at least get somebody that in here that could actually help us get over the hump. So I understand in that situation. So I'm not even mad at Aaron Rodgers.
I don't blame them. Like you said, they had other areas of need. They could have drafted somebody who could have helped that team that year. Jordan Love looks like he's going to be a really, really good quarterback. He just got his bag. But in that moment, when you're Aaron Rodgers and you just played in an NFC Championship game, it's like, go get us some immediate help. Even if it's not on the offensive side, go get us a starting cornerback. Go get us a linebacker. Go get us somebody who could start on a team that was close to making it to the Super Bowl.
Exactly. So I definitely get it. I understand. Cliff, shout out to Cliff. I see you. That's our technical director. He's actually out in DC now. We're gonna talk later about the Eagles Ravens game. No way, because my guys is gonna smoke y'all out the stadium. But that's for later on. That's for later on, Cliff. But shout out to you. That's my bro, man. Oh, and quick birthday shout out to David Francois. David takes care of all our audio and our sound when we in the studio. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, David. Leo gang.
Definitely. Shout out to David. Happy birthday, bro.
All right. Shout out to DeShandre Washington. They won't say if Aaron Rodgers were playing the preseason. Will Aaron Rodgers save the Jets? If he is healthy, the Jets will make it to the playoffs. So if that's saving the Jets, then yes. I ain't saying they win no Super Bowl, but they will definitely make the playoffs. They will look good this season. They had enough weapons last season. I think they've added a couple of weapons this season. I really, I wish they would have got the Riddick situation squared away, but however they got to work that out, they got to work that out. But again, I do believe if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, the Jets make the playoffs this season.
Yeah, if the definition is saving the Jets by making the playoffs, yeah. If he's healthy, they make the playoffs. Super Bowl, I think that's a reach. Off the top of my head, I can think of at least 3 teams that are better than the Jets in the AFC. So yeah, it depends on your definition. But playoffs, I think, are a legitimate expectation for this team.
I agree. Let's go to let me see. Kyrie Burrow MVP this season on the board. I don't know if I can say that. I can't. First of all, Joe Burrow's in the same division as Baltimore, so my Baltimore fandom won't even allow me to say nothing, no recklessness like that. But in all seriousness, he's an MVP. He's going to be an MVP candidate. He's got to stay healthy, obviously. I think that's really the most important thing. But I mean, I think he'll be in the mix. I'll say that. I don't know about calling an MVP preseason like that, but I think he'll definitely be in the conversation if he stays healthy.
I think it's definitely on the board. As I said 2 weeks ago on a Friday Night Live, I think the Bengals are going to win the AFC North, and that's not a knock on the Ravens because I think the Ravens. No, just hear me out, Trip. Hear me out. I think the Bengals win the division. I think the Ravens also make the playoffs as a wild card. The Bengals, for all the talent that they have, they're playing a 4th place schedule because of the injuries they had last year. They are far better than the 4th place team. They're going to beat up on a lot of teams that are not on their level. And therefore, I think that's why Burrow will be in the MVP conversation. And I think it's on the board. I think this is going to be a big Joe Burrow season in terms of numbers because, again, they have a light schedule and they're going to beat up on some teams. And I would not be surprised if Joe Burrow throws for almost 40 touchdowns this year, where it's kind of like, you guys might have forgot about me. Like, I was hurt last year. Lamar, deserving of an MVP. Mahomes is Mahomes. Everybody's talking about Miami's offense. Everybody wants to know what Josh Allen's going to do. But guess what? I'm still the only guy, aside from Tom Brady, who can beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And I would not be surprised if early on Joe Burrow starts making statements in some of these games just to remind you how good he is. I think an MVP season is definitely on the board. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals, who I just said are going to win this division, my prediction to win the division, they should be one of your early predictions on going to the Super Bowl because I think that's how good this team is.
Well, they better figure out something with Jamar Chase's contract though, because it ain't gonna be like that for much longer.
He's gonna be motivated. And guess what? He not only is he gonna be motivated, Joe Burrow gonna make sure he get his 110 catches this year. That's his LSU guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing. See, in this situation, Joe Burrow gonna make sure his guy gets his money because this is somebody he done came up with through the ranks. So I think he will make sure. And yeah, again, I think he is an MVP conversation, but you just got to go out there and take it. But there's gonna be a couple of guys that's gonna be in that conversation this year. So
I don't want to give too much away because I know we got a draft coming up soon, Trip. But I like a couple guys on that Cincinnati offense because I think they're gonna throw the ball around this year.
Of course, I think they are too. Okay. Oh, Ron. Raiders named Gardner starting QB. I mean, realistically, who else they got? Who you gonna put in?
They got Aiden O'Connell, who's a second-year quarterback. He played a little bit last year when Jimmy Garoppolo went down. Gardner Minshew is a great stopgap. That's what he's been throughout his career since he left Jacksonville. He was good with the Colts last year, filling in when Anthony Richardson got hurt. But realistically, all you're looking at with Gardner Minshew is possibly a 7 to 8 win season. That might be your ceiling. You're in the same division with the Chiefs. So unless number 15 turns into somebody else, they're still the best team. I think the Chargers still got enough pieces to at least be a second place team. Obviously, Herbert's health is the main concern there. And then I think the Broncos are better than the Raiders as well because the Broncos still got a really good defense. So even though the Broncos got a lot of issues on offense, their defense is really good. So with Gardner, if he gets you 7 to 8 wins, I think you're happy as the Vegas Raiders. But more importantly, you're looking for the future quarterback at that position. Aiden O'Connell, who you drafted last year, obviously showed you he's not that guy. So they're another team that's hitting reset on the quarterback search.
I'm gonna say this, Eric, and I want you to put this on the notepad. Don't be surprised if we see a reunion later this season with Devontae Adams and an old friend.
Oh, I would not because Trip. No, but hold on. Remember last year there was that speculation around the trade deadline that could there be. So I would not, and not only him, I wouldn't be surprised with a lot of other good teams who might place the call and like, hey, what's it going to take?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of other good teams who, I mean, you telling me Kansas City wouldn't take Devontae Adams?
Damn straight.
You telling me, San Fran, who got some issues with Brandon Ayuk, if they can't get Brandon Ayuk on the contract, they wouldn't take. There's a lot of good teams. Green Bay would take him back.
Yep.
A lot of good teams would take Devontae Adams.
Baltimore would take him.
Right.
Who's not taking Devontae Adams?
That's what Buffalo. And he's proven he can play in that type of weather.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of teams that would take him.
Exactly. All right. Well, listen. Good luck to the Raiders. Man, I feel bad because this is my main man, Antonio Pierce, Super Bowl champion with the Giants as the head coach, but they ain't got the you know what I'm saying? They ain't got the players. They ain't got it. They ain't got it right now. They still in rebuild mode, and they're gonna be that way for some time. Right? Yeah. DeShandre Washington says, "Is Jaden Commander's next big thing?" Well, first of all, shout out to Jaden Daniels. He's officially been named the starter for the Washington Commanders. Is he the next big thing? I don't know, because they ain't got no weapons either. That's another team that ain't got no damn weapons like that. So, nobody worthwhile. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Do they have even a legitimate number 2 wide receiver? I don't even.
Well, they got Terry McLaurin. But Terry McLaurin probably is better as suited as your number 2 as opposed to number 1.
Okay.
I believe they got the kid Dotson who they drafted who played well last year for them. But for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, again, we talking about resets. This is another team that's hitting reset, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to find their guy. I think Jaden Daniels is a pretty good quarterback. The real question is, how much time are they going to give him to develop? Because you still need a lot of work there. If you're picking number 2 in the draft, it's because you need a lot of work.
Yeah.
So they need a lot of work there. Dan Quinn, who's on his second head coaching job, they got to be patient with the young man. And also, you got to remember, he's coming from an LSU situation where he had high draft pick receivers like Malik Neighbors that he was throwing to, and going to a situation where within his own division, Terry McLaurin might be like the 5th or 6th best receiver within his own division. Like, he's not working with the best talent within his own division. So it's going to be some bumps and bruises in the road. They're going to lose a lot of games this year. But if they're patient, I think this young man can develop into a star.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, listen, it's going to take some time, bro, because they ain't got it. They ain't got it right now. So they got to build that roster up. And I think if they do it little by little, I think they'll be good. You know what I mean? Because one, you got to make somebody want to go to Washington. Anybody that's really worth anything, you got to, what I'm saying? You got to give them a reason to go there. If this kid goes in and he starts playing solid, then it's like, oh, you know what? Maybe with this guy, they might be able to get back to the playoffs. And then maybe with that guy, they might win a game in the playoffs. You know what I mean? But they got to show and prove first. That's pretty much the deal with that. But shout out to Jaden Daniels on officially being named the starter. Let me just check if there's any more NFL questions. If not, we're gonna switch over because I see all these basketball questions are coming in. All right, so we're gonna switch over to basketball, but just really quick, fantasy football, man, is going down. We got our draft coming up in about a week and a half, so we're gonna be talking a little bit more fantasy football for all of you fantasy football people out there. If y'all need some tips and stuff, I ain't gonna give y'all too much information because I'm still trying to get the crown. I need that back, but we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna have some things that we're gonna talk about, and we're gonna get to it. Let me go back up because I think there was an NBA question I missed up here. Let me go to shout out to Pooh, man. Let me go to this one really quick. Did y'all see the back and forth with Kevin Durant and Dennis Schroeder? What's y'all thoughts on it? Stupid. That's what I think it was. Stupid. Social media stuff. Basically, you mad at Kevin Durant's post? You called him weak and whatnot. Bro, who cares, bro? It's social media.
Shout out to Pooh. Dennis Schroeder started all this nonsense with his comment about European basketball in comparison to American basketball, where he said European basketball is played at a higher IQ level and it's not reliant on athleticism. And so when Team USA won their gold medal, Trip, I got to show you something. Shout out to Carolina Sports Plus. Shout out to my man, Mario Edwards. He just sent me a little gift package, by the way. I got to show you. But it just reminded me because we was talking Team USA. But when KD and the boys brought home that gold medal, he took the jab back at Dennis Schroeder about high IQ because you tried to question our intellect as basketball players, right? And now Dennis Schroeder said, oh, that's weak. Well, you swung first. You attacked Team USA first. You didn't have to say that.
Now you want to play victim.
Right. Now it's a prime example of I'm going to throw the rock and hold and hide my hands.
Mm-hmm.
No, you shouldn't have taken a swipe first. You shouldn't have said anything. And KD, I think, was right in what he did. And then Dennis Schroeder right now is showing, again, he's emotional. Oh, he's weak for saying that. And then he's trying to attack Kevin Durant's character for saying that. But you started this back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's a false statement that you make in general. Like, yes, there are a lot of players that are super athletic freaks. But even if you look at Team USA, right? If you look at the big three on Team USA, LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry, 3 future Hall of Famers, 3 of the best to ever lace up gym sneakers and play basketball. Only one of them, the game is predicated around their athleticism, and that's LeBron James. Kevin Durant ain't out here just throwing it on cats every night and jumping out the gym. He's a finesse player. Steph Curry's a shooter. You want to go? We can run down the list. Jason Tatum just won an NBA championship. He ain't know his game isn't predicated around his athleticism. He's a finesse player. You know what I mean? So what are we talking about here?
It was corny of Dennis Schroeder to say, because I would have respected it more if he would have said, hey, on the European game, we focus more on the fundamentals, which is true. That's one of the conversations we've had right here on Real Fans, Real Talk.
Yeah.
That the European game is predicated more on the fundamentals and the backdoor cuts and setting screens. And that's all fair. But to question the IQ by making it seem like, our game is based on IQ as if the American players don't focus on that. It's come on, like, you're wrong. You dead wrong. How many times, like you said, how many times have we seen not only Braun, but KD or Steph, just to highlight those 3 guys, take you play by play on what's going on throughout the game? Like, their intellect is on a different level. You don't get to that type of elite status if you don't have a high basketball IQ. So to make it seem like, the European players are playing on that level and American players aren't, it's just stupid.
Who has a higher basketball IQ than LeBron James
right now in the game? Well, only Thanasis, because Thanasis is always on the bench. he should see the game better than anybody. He should see the game better than anybody.
I give you that. My bad.
But Thanasis and Braun,
the European players got it. Then they got
it. Yeah. Maybe that's what Dennis Schroeder was trying to say.
I guess, but unless he's using that for the reason why he's not an all-star in the NBA or a super or anything close to being a superstar, maybe he was given an excuse as to why he's not as successful. Because I don't even.
But Dennis Schroeder's a pretty athletic guard for his size. Pause. Right? Like, he's not like a. I'm not trying to throw this guy under the bus like he wasn't a good player, but like when you look at a point guard like Andre Miller, who had kind of like an old man's game.
Yeah.
And then you look at Dennis Schroeder. I like Andre Miller, right? Yeah. But I was just trying to use the example. Like, Dennis Schroeder has a pretty athletic game for a smaller guard. He gets in the lane. He can finish different ways. Is he athletic like Kyrie? No, he's not on that level.
Yeah.
But he's not like some old man game. He's still a pretty active, up and down type player. I just thought it was a poor choice of words. And like I said, again, it was stupid to use that type of comparison.
It doesn't make sense, though, because who plays professional sports? Who plays professional sports? Athletes, right?
The highest level athletes.
So what are we like?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? What is like? But the whole point doesn't make sense,
right? And Dennis Schroeder, right? If we want to talk about basketball IQ, if you want to try to even use that, Dennis Schroeder has played with LeBron James and Chris Paul, 2 of the highest basketball IQs you will ever find over the last 30, 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're Dennis Schroeder, what are you even comparing this to make it seem like we focus on IQ and they're relying on athleticism?
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense.
Shout out to my brother Will Gordon. How you doing, baby?
Yo, Will, I'm gonna tell you one more time. Get your team ready for the fantasy damn football league. All right, get it together, man. All right, let me see what else we got in the comments. Oh, you know what? We have one more. Let me go. My bad. Let me go back to the NFL. We did have one more NFL question. I didn't even see this one. Let me go back. Shout out to Tyson. My fault, brother. Should Mike Tomlin be on the hot seat? No. Because when did he have a losing season? Oh, he hasn't? Oh, okay then. And that's with the best talent and now on down to the rebuilding mode when they may got the worst talent. He's still putting together winning seasons. He is still one of the greatest coaches that we have ever seen coach the game of football. That's it.
I'll say this, right? If you're going to tell me Tomlin should be on a hot seat, Tyson, you got to give me a reason why. Because the last 3 seasons, I've seen Mike Tomlin have a winning record when his quarterbacks were Kenny Pickett, Kyle Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky. Now, you ain't got to know a lot about football to know that is just trash on top of trash on top of trash. That's dumpster juice. You know what I'm saying? Trip, you met my nephew Jaden. Shout out to my nephew Jaden. When I beat up on him in Madden, I call him bum juice. That's bump juice. It don't get worse than them 3 guys. I just seen Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence only win 6 games, right? Doug Peterson should be on a hot seat because if you got Trevor Lawrence with all the weapons they had last year and all the money they spent on that defense, you shouldn't be collapsing and losing that division at the end of the season. And 6 games was an exaggeration. They actually won, I think, 8 games because they let it fell apart at the end of the season. But there are a lot of other coaches who have had far more talent than Mike Tomlin and have losing seasons. Yeah. I see Mike McCarthy with all the talent he got, and he can't get out of the first round of the playoffs. He should be on a hot seat. Mike Tomlin has done what he can do with what he has. He should not be on any hot seat.
Shout out to Will Gordon.
I agree.
Should have a push recliner, cool to see in coaching.
I agree. 1,000% I agree.
Exactly. So, you know what I'm saying? Put some respect on that man's name. Let me go back up to the top now. Hold on. You know what? Let me go. We're gonna be back and forth between the men's and the women's basketball. Shout out to the ladies. Imani, executive producer of Real Fans Real Talk. She was on me today, Eric. She was on me today. What time y'all starting? All right, because I'll be back at 7:30. I'm ready for y'all. Shout out to Imani. What up, fellas? What a show that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese is putting on. Clark broke the rookie assist record, and Indiana is playing well, and she looks refreshed. But Angel Reese, despite they've been losing, she's been putting up big numbers. These 2 ladies, so glad they're in the W to help it grow. I agree 1,000%. Both of these two young ladies have been balling, and they're getting better and better by the day. And you're right, Imani. Even when their teams were struggling, they out there looking like stars. So, you know, I don't have nothing negative to say about either one of these young ladies. They deserve all the praise that they are getting, and I hope that they continue to add and build and expand the WNBA the way they've been doing.
Listen, these 2 young ladies, I don't know. This might be a 30 for 30 in a couple years, or maybe when they're done playing, or some sort of sports documentary, whatever that is at that time, Trip. Just bookmark this. But what these 2 young ladies have done for the WNBA, I mean, we've talked about the W on this show more times than we've ever talked about it. We've talked about these 2 young ladies. We've talked about them more than we've probably talked about a lot of NBA teams and players. But what they have done to like kind of manage these expectations. Think about that for a second, right? Like they're the biggest stars on the WNBA platform. Not the best players, but the biggest stars. And they've got to manage these expectations. And when you look at what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have been able to do throughout the season, I think it's truly phenomenal. And I think the WNBA owes both of them a lot of respect and gratitude for the way that they're elevating the game and putting it on the platform now where everyone is talking about them. We see some major sports networks starting to talk about the WNBA because of these 2 young ladies.
That's a fact. Shout out to Pooh, the WNBA top dogs. Do you think they inside praying both Reese and Clark make the playoffs? The ratings, OMG. You are absolutely right, Pooh. They are licking their chops right now at the fact that both of these women have their teams in a playoff spot. Even though it's the bottom 2 spots, they don't care because the ratings on those first couple of games, especially since they don't play each other and they're going to be playing, you know what I mean, whoever's the number 1 and number 2 seed, if everything finalizes the way it is, they are licking their chops at the opportunity to capitalize because the ratings will be there to watch both of these 2 young ladies in the playoffs. And if they should so happen to escape out of the first round of the playoffs, they would love that even more.
If by top dogs you mean the executives, oh yeah, the executives want these 2 young ladies. But if by top dogs you mean the Liberty, no, I'm gonna be honest. Because if I'm the Liberty, the last thing I want is to have to play Caitlin Clark and she catch fire for a series, or play Angel Reese and she getting a double-double on us every night and keeping Chicago in the series. So if you're talking about from an executive standpoint, absolutely. But if you're one of the better teams, the last thing you want is this underdog story that everybody is rooting for. Because I promise you right now, Trip and myself, we're both from New York. And if we had to give you a prediction today, we would say we're rooting for the Liberty to try to win it all. Mm-hmm. There is a great comment in there about the Liberty against the Aces, Trip, that we should get to very soon as well.
Yep.
But if you're one of the players, the last thing you want is to face this underdog Cinderella story that everybody's going to be rooting for with this phenomenal rookie that could change the series. So I don't think the Liberty want to face Reese or Clark in a first round matchup.
Well, they might not have a choice.
Right, they might not have a choice because the way it's looking is it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah,
but the executives,
Pooh,
you are so right. The ratings. Imagine a Liberty series against Caitlin Clark, what the ratings will look like, or a series against Angel Reese, what it would look like. Everyone and their mother is going to be tuned in to see what these rookies can do in a playoff series.
Here's the thing: that first round series with New York could possibly be the highest rated playoff series in the WNBA. Either one of those, if they play either one of those teams, because New York is the biggest market, and those two are the biggest stars in the WNBA. So whoever winds up playing the Liberty, they probably gonna break some records with them numbers, because it is going to be box office. But listen, don't worry, because we coming for that title. When I get down there tomorrow, I'm gonna talk to Stewie. I'm gonna call him over. I'm gonna call her and Sabrina and Jonquella over. I'm gonna talk to them for a minute, let them know me and you've been riding for them, and we need them to see this thing through and bring that chip back here to New York. So,
like I said, we're rooting for the Liberty, but I'm not gonna lie, man.
That's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough one.
Yeah, the way these two young ladies is playing is like that becomes a much tougher series, because you see it every game. Their confidence is growing.
Yep. Shout out to Miguel. Angel Reese had 19 points and 20 rebounds as she caps the 20th double-double of the season, which also leads the league. Listen, that's what I'm saying. Like, I love that we get to come in here and praise both of these two young ladies, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, because it's crazy. Because listen, what Caitlin Clark is doing with the assists, Angel Reese is doing with the rebound. And these girls are setting the tone. And I'm so glad that they're both playing at such a high level right now, because they're warranting all the praise and whatnot. Because if they came in here and they were stinking up the joint for the whole season and it looked bad, it was going to be ugly. But the fact that they are showing improvement and leveling up again and again and again. Oh my goodness! You got to love what both of these ladies are doing. I'm so glad that they're both in playoff contention, both teams. Even though I do feel like they'll both wind up getting bumped out in the first round, but I am glad that they lived up to the hype.
Listen, I'm happy that they have been able to manage the expectations and play at the level. And I think the WNBA, man, they are really trending in the right direction, because we've talked so many times about that next group that's about to come behind them, right? Paige Buckers, Juju Watkins, that they not too far behind. So everything Angel and Caitlin are doing right now is kind of setting the bar at a very high level for that next group. Like, now y'all got to live up to this, because we came in with all these expectations and performed. Y'all got to do the same. And if y'all could do that, then now it really elevates the league. Of like, in boxing, we had the 4 kings, and in the WNBA, we might have the 4 queens.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Well, we have to talk about Asia right now, the best player in the WNBA and the MVP of the Olympic Team USA on the women's side of things. Dion Hoops Page, what's up, my guy? Asia Wilson had 34 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 steals yesterday. What I love about Wilson, while Reese and Clark getting all the attention, she just being the best player in the world. Is there a way the league can promote her better? They're trying to figure it out. I think that, because realistically, you want to promote your best player. You know what I mean? And with Asia Wilson, she's so dope. It's clear that she is the best. She has everything that you would want. I think the problem is that Asia Wilson has been in the league before this barrage, before this storm it started brewing up. And she's been in the league from before a time when the WNBA was getting the type of love that they've been getting over the last 2 years. And even with her winning a title the last year, a big part of the buzz around the WNBA was still these 2 young ladies and their next moves. So I do believe that the league wants to push that, because who doesn't want to push their best player? Why wouldn't you want to do that for the brand? Because at the end of the day, it's still about playing basketball. All right, and she is the best player in the WNBA. So I believe they do, and I think this is helping them. But and again, it's not just the league, right? Like, I didn't get a chance to say this last week. We were talking about the ladies, right? I feel like, obviously earlier we saw Caitlin Clark get her shoe deal, right? Signature shoe and all that to start the season. There was a big uproar. Then all of a sudden, all right, now Nike's giving A'ja Wilson a shoe deal, right? So it can't even be just the league. It's all of us. It's the league. It's the sponsors. It's the fans. You know what I mean? And again, A'ja Wilson, I think A'ja Wilson is a pretty woman. You know what I'm saying? So, sometimes I feel like they don't even want to just promote everybody if they don't feel like she's, because, you guys know the age-old mantra, right? Sex sells, right? So she's a pretty woman. She's beautiful. She's nice. She's a winner. So everything that you need to really be pushed as a star, she has. They just haven't figured it out yet, how to make that push happen.
I think that's really what it comes down to. They're still trying to figure out how to promote their stars, specifically A'ja Wilson. And they will over time. She is the best player in the league. And I think the WNBA is capitalizing on the shout out to Will Gordon, because he kind of said what I was going to say in terms of, I don't want to call them lazy, but they just capitalizing off the momentum that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese had coming out of college basketball.
Yes.
Right. So it didn't take much effort for the WNBA to capitalize on that, because it was like there's already this momentum. And what we'll do is we'll give them the primetime games. We'll highlight them and we'll just kind of ride that same wave.
Yes.
With A'ja Wilson, this requires a different strategy, because this is somebody who is the best player in your league and a two-time champion currently before everyone was paying attention. So now you've got to get very creative with that. And I think they ultimately will. I think at some point they'll probably lean on the NBA and figure out like, hey, how are you guys promoting some of your stars that aren't named LeBron James or Kevin Durant or Steph Curry? Mm-hmm. And they'll figure that part out of it as well. But I think ultimately it will balance out at some point, because she's just too talented and she's been too successful in the league for them not to market her the right way.
Yeah, I will say this. And again, I mean, and this is not something that the WNBA did. The Olympics helps because it's now globally, because, we wasn't talking about A'ja Wilson 4 years ago. Now we're talking about her as a two-time champion, as an Olympic gold medalist, as an MVP of the Olympics. So her brand, the WNBA been kind of getting these little alley-oops in these last couple of years, but you have to capitalize off of it. And even, there's things, because, when the league gets certain things like we need a couple of girls to do this promo thing, this, that, she got to be one of the ones that's being pushed. You can't just stop at Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. You gotta push these other ladies, and if that means kicking some people out that's not marketing them well enough, then that's what you might have to do. But you're gonna have to like you said, Eric, you're gonna have to change the strategy up with A'ja Wilson, because she didn't come into this thing with that type of buzz. Because the reality of it is, these two young ladies have more star power right now than A'ja Wilson as a two-time WNBA champion and being the best player in the league. That could never happen in the NBA.
Yeah.
Even with, like, Braun is the face of the league, right? He hasn't won a championship in 5 years. Mm-hmm. There's not going to be two rookies that come in and are more famous than LeBron James.
I agree. I think where it gets tricky, though, is like to Will Gordon's comment, because I like this comment. Like you said, right? The marketing is lazy, which I said. Playing up this Bird and Magic narrative with Clark and Reese, which we've talked about since day one, right? Sabrina, Stewart, etc., and shine too. They do. But the problem is, Will, and for everyone, including us, even if they make it a marquee game, right? How many people are tuning in? Like, we've seen the ticket and attendance numbers be completely different when it's Angel Reese and when it's Caitlin Clark compared to the rest of the league. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's where it gets tricky. Like, I think even last year, before these two young ladies were in the league, we really only focused on the Aces and the Liberty, because they had like the super teams that were on a crash course to meet in the finals.
Yeah.
Right. So up until they played each other, people were kind of just like, we were watching from a distance. Yeah, we might check the scores. Oh, the Aces won today, the Liberty won today. Like, we were checking from a distance, but we weren't tuning in consistently. And that's where it gets tricky, because if they make them the marquee game, WNBA plays during the summertime. Let's not fool ourselves. If they make them the marquee game on Saturday, how many people can honestly say, I'm going to tune in on a Saturday night to watch them? I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to watch anything else. I'm just going to watch WNBA. And that doesn't happen too often. So that's where it gets tricky. Like even there were no games today, WNBA, but yesterday, the Sky were on, the Fever were on. Honestly, I would like people to tell me how many of you guys really tuned in and watched both games on a Sunday afternoon. You probably did something else. And that's not a knock against the young ladies. That's not a knock against the quality of the game. It's just that's the struggle the WNBA has. Even if we promote the shit out of this, are you guys really going to lock in and watch? It's easier to piggyback what college already did with Reese and Clark, because they already have a fan base that's traveling with them now. It's harder to promote Asia Wilson, who you guys kind of, and when I say you guys, I don't mean people that are watching right now or the followers, but it's harder to push that narrative when most of America wasn't even paying attention to Angel Wilson when she was a one-time champion, one-time MVP. Yeah, weren't, like you said, with LeBron ain't won nothing in 5 years and people still will pay attention.
Yeah.
Steph ain't got to win nothing. People will pay attention.
Yes.
Right? Asia Wilson is winning and people are like, oh, okay, that's cute. That's cool. So how do they get more viewers? That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. It is what it is. They gotta work on it, man. If you really want to grow the league, you're starting to get the money in now, and you got the star power now being generated. It's gonna be a revolving cycle, because these girls are gonna keep coming. They're gonna keep getting better. They're coming in, and one of the things I will say, a large part of that is gonna be because we're in the social media era now, and these girls, they're going to come into the WNBA with millions of followers on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter. They're coming into the league with a fan base already that a lot of the current WNBA players don't have. So it's going to continue to get better. So you got to capitalize off of
Hold on. I got to say this. Will, you my man, 100 grand. But what you just posted is crazy work. Because for you to say, right, that's the WNBA's fault. They predetermine who they want to promote with all but 3 Indiana games being televised. That's crazy work. Will Gordon, you yourself said just last year when we had people who was asking us about WNBA, you was like, who's watching that shit anyway?
See, you can talk to him, man. We got to talk.
Right. And I'm not saying that to criticize you, because I felt the same way. It's like, yeah, I ain't going to front. I'm not really watching. If it's not New York Liberty, if it's not a big playoff game, I'm probably not watching. The WNBA is in a tough predicament because though they have stars, it's not enough star power to engage the country.
Exactly.
That's really what it comes down to. They don't have, like, we as basketball fans, we can appreciate what Asia Wilson does. We can appreciate what Breanna Stewart, what Sabrina Ionescu does. We can appreciate what they do, right? But are we giving away our summer evening or summer weekend to say, I'm going to lock in and watch this WNBA game? And the reason I know we're not is because it's the same reason that Major League Baseball is struggling right now. Because most people are not going to dedicate 3 hours of their summer day to watch a game.
Exactly.
And I've said this for years, Trip. One of my first appearances on Real Fans Real Talk in studio when I said Major League Baseball is missing an opportunity to promote the stars they had. Bryce Harper was supposed to be the LeBron James of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said that. You missed the chance with Manny Machado. They missed the chance with Mike Trout. WNBA is doing the same thing right now. They're missing the chance. But the real struggle is, how do we get the eyeballs on what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
Because, again, we got WNBA. I'm challenging anybody. Tomorrow night, there's 4 WNBA games. When I go on live on Friday, let me know which one you watched. On a Tuesday summer night, because most people ain't tuning in.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So we gonna see. Hold on. Will says so. Televised one team in time. What?
No, they're doing it because, like I said, Will, they're trying to do is ride the wave of her popularity from college. I agree with you, Will, what you said. And like, it was like 2 comments earlier where you said they're being lazy. I agree with that part. But there's also that part of it of, well, she's popular there. Let's just ride that wave. She went to Iowa, right? That's Middle America. She plays in Indiana now. It's Middle America. Let's just ride that wave. If she was in a bigger media capital, right? Angel Reese plays in Chicago. That's the 3rd, I think, largest media market in the country.
Yeah.
If Caitlin Clark played in a bigger media market, they probably wouldn't have to force it. But she plays in Indiana. Let's keep it a buck.
Yeah.
The only way people going, because raise your hand if you got WNBA League Pass. Because ain't nobody.
They got that?
Right. See my point? it ain't happening. So if you're the number 1 pick, it's no different.
Sorry, y'all. Sorry, ladies.
I'm just no, but I'm keeping it a buck, and I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be rude about it, but I'm just trying to be honest.
Yeah.
When LeBron went to Cleveland, they had and I'm not trying to compare the two, so I don't want nobody to think, oh, you trying to compare LeBron. No, what I'm saying is when the NBA had LeBron and they knew we have a media darling, we have somebody that everybody's paying attention to. They had to force feed him to you. Cleveland Cavaliers don't get many televised games. We got to force that. Same thing with the Indiana Fever. We got to force that. Y'all not watching the Indiana Fever. So we got to force it on national television, hoping that you watch. She is our number 1 pick. What are we supposed to do? Not let you watch her when everybody in the country is talking about her? Like I said, shit, on this show alone, we've talked more WNBA than we've ever talked because of what Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have done over the last 2 years.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, bro.
I apologize, Trip. You know the tequila sometimes, if you know,
Nah,
I go on a rant, man.
Listen, we got to talk about it, man. It's only right. Let me come back up to the top with these next couple of comments. Oh yeah. Okay. Hoop Baller Scoop, my main man. Did y'all see that Rich Paul, who I hate but respect what he does, stop the potential move of LeBron James going to the Warriors at the All-Star break? I know some of us fans would say title, but would Lakers have wanted Clay Wiggins and Kuminga for LeBron James, for LeBron, Ramon James? Hell no, they wouldn't want that. First of all, Golden State didn't even want Klay Thompson no more. He's up out of there. Wiggins has been horrible since they won the chip. And Kuminga could be good, but I don't even know what him. But I'm not about to give LeBron James and let him go play with Steph Curry for that. Are you crazy? Hell no.
First off, I feel like we got into this conversation. Hoop Baller Scoop, shout out to Hoop Baller Scoop, very knowledgeable in basketball. What gets completely overlooked in all this is that LeBron wanted out of the Lakers. It's the reason why the Lakers granted him permission to speak to other teams. And then when teams called them, they said, I don't know, you gotta speak to LeBron, see what he want to do. Right? That gets completely overlooked because that's never happened in the history of the league. Go speak to my star player and see if he's interested in going to your team. That's first. Secondly, Rich Paul takes orders from LeBron James. Let's not act like we don't know that. All right. Rich Paul shut that down, and more so LeBron shut that down because they knew what the narrative would become. If he went there and had success, it would never be LeBron's success. It would be Steph Curry's success. That is Steph Curry's team. Steph Curry is the greatest warrior to ever play. And so therefore, if LeBron went there, LeBron would become the Robin to Steph Curry's Batman. Now, why would LeBron want to endure that again? He faced that criticism when he went to Miami. Why would he want to do that now, especially in the twilight of his career, towards the end of his career, be the Robin to Steph Curry's Batman? He wouldn't. And so that's why they shut it down. I think there was some real conversation between LeBron and his team. I think there was some real intrigue from LeBron and his team about, what it would look like to play with Steph Curry and, probably the most accomplished player of all time in LeBron with the greatest shooter of all time and what they could do together. And could they win more rings? And maybe Bron ultimately is able to pass Mike and rings with playing with Steph. But would LeBron really get the credit? Because as some of you guys know, and some of you guys just talked about in the comment section, you criticize LeBron for any and everything he's ever done. So what would that criticism have been if he had gone to the Warriors and been successful and won a championship there? You wouldn't have given him credit for it. So why should he have done it? I think Braun and Rich Paul did the right thing. You shut that down. You say, no, we're not going there. We already know what that backlash looks like, and we're not going to deal with that. Simple as that.
Basically. It is.
And it's not even about the pieces they would have got back. It's LeBron knowing if the Lakers were to take Clay, Wiggins, and Kuminga, we know Clay was going to become a free agent. So it would have really been Wiggins and Kuminga to build around and possibly some future picks. Again, if you're LeBron James, why am I going to deal with the backlash or with the lack of respect that I would have received for winning? Exactly. Like there's some of you guys right now who don't even think Braun should have been the MVP of the Olympics. So what y'all would have thought if he would have won a championship with the Warriors?
He damned if he does. He damned if he don't.
Trip, tell me I'm lying, Trip.
No, you're not. You damned if you do. You damned if you don't, man. Like
y'all don't even give him credit. Y'all don't even give him credit for what he just did, winning the gold medal.
Yeah.
So y'all damn sure wasn't gonna give him credit if he would have done something with the Warriors.
Exactly. It is what it is, man. Shout out to Hoopballer Scoop though. Dame Lillard says on Jeff Teague's podcast that he feels like he don't get the love he should, and he's been doing things for 13 years. I always felt he just happened to come in the Steph Curry era, winning 4 titles, 2 MVP, all this from 2014 to 2023, including what he did in the gold medal game. He just came in the Curry era. I mean, yeah, for the most part, I agree with Hoopballer Scoop is saying here. You know, and I love Dame. I've been a big fan of Dame. You know, Dame since he got into the league. But here's the thing, my brother, you're not going to get the love that these guys get because you don't have the accomplishments or the resume. And those are the cold, hard facts. As much as I love Dame, those are the cold, hard facts. The guys that get that love are the guys that have the resume to back up them getting that love. All right, there's a lot of great players that don't get Steph love, that don't get Braun love, that don't get KD love, that don't get Kobe love or MJ or Shaq or any of that because they don't have the resume that these guys have. You ain't got an MVP up in there nowhere. You ain't never been to a finals. You know what I mean? So realistically, you're getting the amount of love that you were going to get for what you've accomplished in the league. And it's like, and you've accomplished a lot. So I'm not saying that in a bad way as far as what you've accomplished, but you don't have the individual accolades that some of these guys have that get that type of love. No MVPs, no Defensive Player of the Year awards. You need those individuals. Get to a finals MVP maybe an NBA championship, and you'll get that love. But right now, you're not going to get the same love that Steph does. Sorry.
Dame Lillard is searching for something that, and I can understand why. He's put in a lot of work. He's been a great player during his time. He will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But why should he get the love that Steph Curry gets? That as my brother Trip Young has highlighted. No regular season MVPs, no trips to the finals. I think he's only had one trip to a Western Conference Finals. That's it, one.
And you got smoked out the gym on that one.
Right.
So what do we say?
Right. I don't know what type of love are you looking for. I mean, in the Northwest, in that Portland area, I'm sure you get a lot of love. I'm sure there are a lot of fans that are grateful for what you did for that organization. But in terms of the NBA as a whole, no. It's ridiculous that you even would mention I don't get that Steph Curry love. Guess what? 98% of players who ever played in the league ain't never going to get that Steph Curry love. Because Steph is a one of one. He is the greatest shooter that has ever played the game. He won the 4 championships, played in 6 NBA Finals, Trip. Right? They lost to Cleveland.
Yeah,
they lost
Cleveland.
They lost Cleveland, Toronto. And then he got the 4 wins. Steph is a multiple-time MVP. Now he's a gold medalist. What Steph has done, there ain't many all-time greats who could even hold the torch to his resume. So you're never going to get that type of love. Exactly. And if you're Dame, what this really sounds like to me is that you know the career is almost over. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like to me that you realize, for as great as your playing days have been, this is it. It might be this year and next year in Milwaukee. It's kind of the end of a great career, and you're reaching for something that was never there. There is no resume to compare, and that's no knock on Dame. I think Dame is a great player. Dame is a first ballot Hall of Famer. But again, what love do you feel you should have got that you did not get? Like I watched. Shout out to our brothers over at Hoops in the Sun, Trip, because I know you saw it. We covered Hoops in the Sun a couple years ago. We got a lot of love for Randy and his brother out there. Carmelo was out there, right? Now in the New York City area, Carmelo is a legend, right? We respect and love what he did for the Knicks and the way he came back and held it down for New York City and the community, because Carmelo's done a lot in the community. I got the honor to meet Carmelo one time with my daughter, and I'll never forget. He signed a basketball for her. He was very gracious, a great, great man when I met him. But Carmelo also on his resume is missing some things. So he's never going to get the love that some of the other guys got. And that's not a knock against Carmelo. It's just the resume ain't the same. It kind of feels that same way with Dame Lillard. Like you're reaching for something that you just haven't accomplished. You're not there. So the love isn't going to be the same for you.
Yeah, you're right.
Dame should accept he was a great player. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. We will never forget some of those great playoff moments. That shot over Paul George, the shot to beat the Rockets in the playoffs. Great moments. But that ain't the same thing to what that kid in the Bay Area was doing. It's not the same thing.
Listen, I love Dame time.
Amazing.
But it ain't this.
It ain't that.
It ain't that. Respectfully.
Hold on. What Jeezy said? This ain't that, and that ain't this.
Ain't this.
Yeah, it ain't the same thing.
Exactly. We got to call a spade here again, and we're saying this respectfully because we rock with Dame. Dame is one of the greats, but when you're talking about the levels of adoration that you're gonna get from everyone, that comes with your resume. Steph is if he ain't in the top 10 right now, he's right around the edge of the top 10 right now. Yeah. All time. I mean, Dame was on the top 75, was he? Was he on the top 75?
I think he was left just off. And I was gonna double check that and search that real quick.
Okay. Even if he wasn't in that lower half. That's a different level. It's level, as the great Meek Mill says, it's levels to this. It's different, man. You got to get your resume to that point.
No, he actually was on the 75.
He was okay. Well,
he was on the 75. So again, you're getting the respect you deserve
for what you've accomplished. How much more love do you want?
Not only that, keep in mind, Kyrie not on the top 75.
Exactly. He got a championship.
And there's some people who will say Kyrie's a better player.
Yeah, and you ain't hit a shot bigger than the shot Kyrie hitting to win the championship.
There's some people that will say Dwight Howard is more accomplished than you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think you've gotten a proper love.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Tyson. I want to switch it up a little bit because I've been waiting to get to this question here. This is off the wall. In all the years doing this, give me your top 5 interviews and some people you would love to interview. My top 5 interviews. Deontay Wilder. We drove down to Alabama for that one. So Deontay Wilder. I gotta throw my little sis in there, Don Shay. Shout out to Raina. Let me see who else. Who's in my top 5? I know it was number 1. I'm waiting to say my number. I'll say my number 1 for last because there's a reason. Iran Barkley. I love Iran Barkley. I think he's such a dope person. He was a really good fighter during his time. That's why shout out to my guys Carl and Lou with the Fifth King documentary. Because you mentioned the 4 Kings earlier, Eric.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Iran was definitely the fifth king of that era.
I don't know if you heard it. I meant to send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Club Shay Shay, shout out to Shannon Sharp, who we got a lot of respect for. He was doing the recent interview with Oscar De La Hoya, and he mentioned Iran Barkley as the fifth king as well.
Yes.
And I thought that was amazing. I remember I sent you recently the clip of Iran with his fights against Hearns and against Duran. So underrated, and somebody who deserves much more credit for what he did for the sport at that time.
That Duran fight could have gone either way, to be honest.
It was a very debatable fight until the late round knockdown. The late round knockdown changed the fight.
Yeah, and if y'all really been doing your homework and going to the archives, then y'all know Iran said on Real Fans Real Talk, he, you know, Sugar was ducking him. He told him, he said, I called him up and said, I'll pay you the $5 million to let me get in the ring.
Sugar did not want to fight him.
Exactly.
Duran fought him. Hearns fought him. Hagler had already retired, so he never got the chance to fight Hagler. And Hagler soured on the sport after the Sugar Ray fight. Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was super dope that Shannon Sharp said his name and gave him his credit, because again, Iran the Blade Barkley was a champion at that time, and he was the next in line after those four. And like I said, he fought 2 of the 4, and people kind of it gets lost in history because those 4 get glamorized.
Exactly. All right. So yeah. So Wilder, Iran. I'm gonna add in there Al Harrington.
Yeah.
Don Shea, and my number 1. And there's a lot of factors to why this one is number 1. Rest in peace to the late great Anthony Mason. That is my favorite interview of all time for a couple of reasons. 1, because it was his last TV interview before he passed away. And 2, because it almost didn't happen. And because he told us to come to his office, we was going to do the interview in his office. We spent our last $20 on parking in Manhattan, get to his office, and he wasn't even there. Thank God somebody was there. The office attendant was there. She calls him up on the phone. He completely forgot he had the interview with us. And then he's like, y'all want to come to my house and do the interview? And we like, hell yeah, we want to come to your house and do the interview. So then we drive up from Manhattan to Westchester County. And we started from the Bronx, went down in Manhattan, and drove back up to Westchester County to do the interview with Anthony Mason. And it wound up being one of our best interviews to date. So that's my number 1 right there. But who you got, Eric?
There's so many. 2 of those I wasn't a part of the Real Fans Real Talk family yet, but I'll say Taj Gibson is 1, because I thought that was super dope that we went out there for Taj Gibson Day.
And we was in hood.
Yeah, now we was outside.
In the middle of the peas, y'all.
We was in the middle of the peas outside, and then more importantly, like when you know they pulled him to the side, like, yo, and he was like, nah, I got you. And they're crazy. I told you he came through my job recently. And when I told him, he remembered. He was like, oh yeah. And we talked for a couple minutes. So that one is always a big one for me. Big Gene. I can never discredit what Big Gene has done for me personally and for us as a platform, because some of the biggest interviews I ever have with Gene. And Gene didn't know me from a hole in the wall. But you vouch for me, Trip. That's why I always give you your kudos and your props. You vouch for me, and then after that, we kind of grew a relationship. And then after that, like the next 3 times, he's like, "Nah, let your man do it." Like it was good. It was all love. You know what I'm saying? It was all love after that. So Gene got to be up there. What else we got? Man, we've had so many. I'll just no particular order. I'm gonna go through a couple of different ones that we've had. Al Harrington was an amazing interview. He gave us so much insight on things. Not only his playing career, but obviously him as a businessman. I thought that was great at the time. I thought Iran was amazing. Remember, we met him over there in the Soundview area. And I still got the picture. I got to post it. We got the picture outside the restaurant. I thought Iran was amazing. My Song. I love when we had the interview with My Song in studio. And
yes, that was
it was dope. It was at the time, like I said, when he was really, 100% into social justice and activism, and people were still viewing him as just as a musician and weren't understanding what he was trying to do. So those are some of the ones that really stick out. Of course, we gotta shout out home team always. Freaky Zeke, who came on during COVID.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? During COVID, he jumped on the joint with us. So we've had so many amazing people that have supported the movement and have jumped on the interview with us, whether virtually or in studio.
Mm-hmm.
I try to pick a couple people that you didn't mention, Trip, because I agree with you on the one you got. Shout out to Don Shay. For people that don't, when we were doing Sophisticated Minds, we were on the steps out there in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
We interviewed her. Shout out to Cortez, because Cortez gave us one of the first joints, and then Cortez obviously came in studio, was a great friend of the show, still remains a great friend of the show. So there's so many of them. Like I said, I was just trying to pick a couple that you
Mav putting his damn feet on the table.
Mav coming through. Man. Then one time, oh man, her name slips me, and I apologize. I don't mean to be forgetful. We had a pageant winner on the show one time.
Oh yes, yes. You know what?
No, but I remember she came. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like, no, she was Brania.
We gotta look back, but people don't realize we had the legendary coach from Brooklyn,
Coach Gustus.
That coach Lamar and them.
Ron Clario.
Clario. That's what I'm saying. Like we've had so many great people that have come through.
Yeah, we really have, man. Jeez, we really have. We done had some guests, man. We had some amazing people. Yeah, we ain't finished yet. We still got some more things we working on for y'all.
And then like I said, and that's not even to overlook, Shushu Carrington's been on the show a couple times.
Justin Biggs.
Shout out Justin Biggs. Shout out Maxwell Pierce. Mm-hmm. Obviously H2O, not only a great friend of ours, but a great friend of the show, and somebody who's come through so many different times. It's been so many, man. It's tough to just name like the 5.
Yeah, A Butter, shout out to him.
Teaspoon. Y'all don't even know my man Trip got the jerk with Jim Jones from like Baller for Peace 1. From Baller for Peace 1.
Facts. We didn't have all your favorite battle rappers up here.
Rex. Mook Rex was on the joint. Like it's crazy, bro.
The Rex interview went crazy because the Rex interview did when that Baller for Peace came out, did like 12,000 like that week. Like the numbers went up on the Rex interview. So we don't have some folks on here, man. We had a nice little run. Who the hell? I'm not even about to post this up here with Will just said. I don't know who that is.
Oh no, that's Will. We had him on a Friday Night Live. That's shout out to but he's doing this thing out here. Shout out to the sports junkies out here in DC. JP Flame. He was on with us on a Friday Night Live. That's on the Sanchez show. I'm not going to include that one on this one, Will, but definitely JP was a great guest that we had on as well.
And as far as who I want to interview the most, I mean, I ain't gonna say his name because then y'all just gonna start a whole nother thing. If I say y'all know who I want to interview, so
we know Trip. For me, I'm gonna keep it a buck. For show purposes, man, who I think would be great on the show. Sports wise, it's easy for me. It would be a Deion Sanders, a Allen Iverson, a Michael Jordan, guys that I looked up to coming up. But somebody asked me this before about the name. I go by Legend in 2 Games. For me, it would be Pee Wee Kirkland, because for people that don't know the story, his impact on New York City. Nah, I'm dead ass. His impact on New York City.
It's not even that, Eric. It's the fact I don't even want to talk, because I guess I still get so upset to this day talking about it. We had a Pee Wee Kirkland interview that I did myself, and the person that was doing the camera that day, it didn't work out. Basically,
listen, that was before I was with the Real Fans, Real Talk family.
Yeah, that was before Eric was on the team.
Yeah,
but we did have a Pee Wee Kirkland interview that was fire, bro. And to this day, I'm still sick that I never got to drop it.
I always say, for people that don't know, the Legend in 2 Games name is really paying homage to guys like Pee Wee Kirkland. And many others who dabbled in the life, but also, like I said, had the opportunity to do other things. And I think Pee Wee, for people that don't know his backstory, drafted by the Chicago Bulls, and he pulls up. And Pee Wee, you can correct me if I'm wrong when we get you on the show one day. He pulls up first day of training camp at the Bulls practice with the Cadillac, and he was already making more money than the Chicago Bulls coach at the time. And it was one of the moments in his life where he says himself, where it was like, man, I ain't going to even really listen to this dude. Like I'm getting more money than him. We'll go to know Clip's voice. But Pee Wee, but not only that, I have so much respect for Pee Wee because of what he did in the community after. You know what I'm saying? That's the definition of a stand-up man. Like whatever mistakes I made, cool. But now I'm gonna rectify them and be so active in the community. And if you go to Rucker Park on any random night, you might bump into Pee Wee because he'll be out there talking to the youth and being involved. And I have so much respect for Pee Wee Kirkland. That's somebody I would love to have to sit down with.
Thanks. I'm gonna shout out one more guest. My main man, DeVal Ellis, who plays Zach on Sisters and on Zaytima on BET. That's actually like a friend of mine who I did a show with him, and he just kept doing his thing and he caught on and he took off. At one point, he was on like 4 shows on BET at the same time, and now he got on Sisters. They wound up getting a spinoff, Zaytima, which is his own series, and he's still on Sisters as well. So I got to shout out my guy DeVal Ellis too.
That's a fact.
All right, let's get these last 2 or 3 comments out the way, and we're gonna get up out of here because we damn near the last couple of times we giving y'all damn near 2 hours, man.
Double overtime.
Miguel says Steve Kerr will no longer coach the USA team. Many people happy, but overall, how does y'all think he did? And that's not even about. I'm not doing that about the question. It's just in all of the people that's just chirping and chirping and chirping. He won a gold medal. That is all. I don't like. What we gonna break down X and O's? He didn't call this play. He didn't call that play. This guy, no. And when Kobe got up there in that press conference, he said the job's not done. That wasn't in the case here. The case here, the job got done. They won the gold medal. They ran through the games up until them last 2. There was nothing else that Steve Kerr needed to do. He did a great job coaching. He deserves the praise. And the fact that, it's so much negative surrounding this is, I think it's so corny to me. But give Steve Kerr his flowers, man.
History remembers the winners. And we could sit here now and play Monday morning quarterback and, he should have did this, he should have did that. But what he did do was go undefeated in the Olympics. And let's give him his respect. And whether you like every coaching decision that he made, it doesn't matter. They won. They won every game. There's nothing to second guess. For the people that are happy, those are the people that want to critique something, but he won and there's nothing to critique. Overall, I think he did a great job. He did what he was supposed to do. When the Olympics started, I guarantee you, if you polled every basketball fan and every American, if you said, what's your goal for Team USA? Win the gold. So he did that. He accomplished the goal. I will be interested to see who replaces him. I know he had Eric Spoelstra and Ty Lue on that coaching staff, both very good coaches who are more than qualified to take over moving forward. So that part I'll be paying attention to. But overall, Steve Kerr did his job, and Steve Kerr will be in the Naismith Hall of Fame very soon, Trip, because the championships won as a player, even though he was a role player, and now all the championships won as a coach.
And
he will be in. I mean, you're talking as a player. I believe he won 5 championships, 3 with the Bulls, 2 with the Spurs. Somebody in our comment section, correct me if I'm wrong. So 5 as a player, another 4 as a head coach. That puts you at 9, and then you add in the gold medal. Steve Kerr is going to be in the Hall of Fame when it's all said and done.
I agree. We got to throw Will's question up here. Will says, when y'all going to do another live in person, John? I got vacation days to spend. You know what? That kind of depends, because we may do an in-person joint in DC, because there's somebody out there that we do have a little connection to, who used to play for the Ravens, So we may even do something in DC. Who knows? But I mean, that's just contingent on when we in the same place again at the same time.
So hopefully soon. Right now it's been a very hectic time. I got some things I'm trying to get in order, and Trip's been working and moving around as well. But if not within the next month or two, we'll talk off air, because Trip and I have already been kind of coordinating this December 1st game, Ravens Eagles in Baltimore. That might be the perfect time. We recorded something out of a hotel before, right, Trip? So it wouldn't be the first time if we recorded an episode there. So that might be the one. I'll keep you up to date on that. But we're eyeing like 2 games this year that we're going to get to. And I've said this on previous lives as well for all of our supporters. Guys, let us know what city you're in. Let us know if you want us to pull up, because we're looking for games to go to, not just football, also basketball. Let us know where you're at, man. We're looking to take a road trip, but right now we're targeting 2 football games on the schedule, one in Baltimore, one in New York. Will, I know you in that Cleveland area. Let us know what you got going on. We're trying to pull up somewhere, and who knows, maybe we just take the equipment out there and just record something.
Yeah, absolutely. So let us know. And we got one more comment left. Let me get my main man Dion Hoops page, and we're gonna end it off with this one here. New York Liberty are rolling right now, but I just wonder, can they beat the Aces in a 7-game series or a 5-game series? Well, we're gonna find out soon enough. Tell you that right now. But again, I told y'all, when I get down there tomorrow, I'm gonna have a pep talk with the big 3. Let them know, yo, we need one for the town. All right. And I'm gonna need them to have that same type of energy that Reek had in Cold 187 when myself and Eric got back in our acting bag and did that interview. I'm gonna need that type of energy.
Nah, definitely, Trip. Right. Right now, I mean, you got to give the advantage to the Aces. They showed that last year in the series that they were the better team, but the Liberty are rolling, and until they meet again, I think the Aces are the favorites until proven otherwise.
Yeah. So, and one thing I will say, obviously, I mean, I'm gonna pick the Liberty no matter what. But one thing I will say is the Aces looked a lot stronger throughout the season and going into the playoffs. Obviously, we know they've struggled at points throughout the season, but the one thing they do have in their favor is they are the champs, and we all know that the playoffs is the second season. So all that, whatever went down in the regular season, all you got to do is get into the playoffs, and things are different.
Yeah, I mean, again, you kept the team at the right time, but for right now, Vegas got to be the favorites. They're the 2-time champs, and they won the last matchup.
Exactly. All right, Eric, give us a final thought, man. We're going to get ready to wrap this thing up.
You already know, man, as always, so much love and respect to the supporters, man. You guys rock with us every week, and we greatly appreciate it. We love the comment section and the way it's looking. Keep that continuing on. Friday Night Live, again, Will Gordon and myself. Trip, if you're free, join us, bro. You already know the vibes. We going down Friday night, 8:30 p.m. So we got that going on. And what else we got?
If I'm not on the road, I'll definitely check in again.
Yeah. Like I said, lock in. You already know. It's an open invitation. You already know. You ain't got to say nothing else. But yeah, Friday Night Live. And you know what? I want to give a shout out to my oldest daughter, Leilani. I got to give a shout out. If you look back at some of the old footage, I always joked around. That's my assistant. She came on the show with me a couple of times. She's come on the show, but I'm such a girl dad, and I'm so proud to be a girl dad. I got to give her a shout out. She will be leaving the college this week. I'm so proud of her, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for her. But she has definitely been one of our biggest supporters as well. Her and Trip used to argue about James Harden, who she was a fan of back in the day. And like I said, she came on the show several times. I referenced her earlier when I talked about Carmelo Anthony. So I definitely want to give her a shout out just so that, it's on record. She knows at the end of the day, Dad is very proud of you. She's going off to college and wishing her many successes.
Congratulations. James Harden is still wet. And we're gonna always go to war about it. But no, I'm proud of her as well. Eric, congratulations to you for finishing the job.
It's never complete, but it's a major milestone.
This stage in the
it's a major milestone. Never complete, but it's a major milestone.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Let me see. What do I want to end off with today? Oh, Shout out to Stephen A. Smith.
Oh,
yeah, had the pleasure of rocking out with Stephen A. Smith this past week. Got some work in. If y'all haven't already, you know what I'm saying, I posted the interview. It's online right now. But big shout out to Stephen A. Smith. People give Stephen A. Smith flack from time to time, and sometimes warranted. But Stephen A. Smith is a real one. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Stephen A. Smith.
Nah, shout out to my brother Trip on that. Like I said, Trip be out here, he be moving, he making things happen. Trip, I know you don't want nobody to know this, but I'm just gonna say it because I've been sipping tonight. Trip told Stephen A. come on the show, but Stephen A. said he didn't want no smoke. But Trip, I know you didn't want nobody to know, but I'm just gonna put that out there. Stephen A., the ball's in your court. Show up whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready, man.
Whenever you're ready, you know that.
Listen, we ain't even look that the other guy. He not even in the game no more. They put him as a pastor, so we ain't worried about him no more.
Yeah. That other guy. We see now that guy. He making at home videos now. He's still worried about LeBron. We know who that guy is. We ain't talk about him.
Exactly, man. With that being said, make sure you guys are following us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/For the Fans Productions. Y'all see the YouTube channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. And if you're not in New York City and you can't watch us on Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. on Verizon 43, don't worry. Website is right there. Scrolling across the page. Just look at that. RealFansRealTalk.com. Click that red button on the home page, and you can watch from anywhere in the world. And I mean, y'all already subscribed, but just in case, because we get new people all the time, subscribe to that Sanchez Show and the Real Fans Real Talk podcast. New content dropping every week. Eric is back on Friday nights as well, so make sure y'all tuned in for that. And we're gonna get it together. We figure out which day we're gonna be on next week, whether it be Sunday, Monday. Well, whatever we're gonna do. We're gonna make it do what it do, baby. All right.
We're gonna pop up. You just gotta wait on it. That's it. We're gonna pop up.
Exactly. So, with that being said, for myself, Trip Young, my brother, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in 2 Games, we up out of here. Peace.